All the Predators can do is win to get into the playoffs, but that is clearly easier said than done.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Locked On Predators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you for making us your first stop of the day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. I want to start off by shouting out all of our Locked On Predators podcast community and our everydayers who tune in to chat all things Preds every day. My name is Jack Williams, and I am the host of the Locked On Predators podcast and the Nashville Predators beat writer for the hockey news. Before we get into it, remember that Locked On Predators mailbag. Once you guys get involved in the show, want to hear what you guys are thinking about, all your opinions, questions, whatever's going on about the Nashville Predators. We want to hear y'all get involved for Mailbag Mondays. To get involved in sending your own questions, go into the link in the bio. There will be a Google form, link in the description, that you can fill out and send your question over to be featured on this podcast. That is for the mailbag, and you can find that in the description of each episode, whether you're listening or watching. Now, I'm going to try not to get too off the rails with this. I don't know how y'all have dealt with watching this team for so long, and just it seems like they do every single little thing to shoot themselves in the leg, or the meme of somebody riding a bike and then they put a stick in between the wheel and then they fall over. It seems like that's a lot of what this team does, and just self-sabotage over and over and over again. And this being Thursday night, Friday, when you guys are listening and watching this, a 4-3 loss to the Vancouver Canucks, who are 11 points as the worst team in the NHL right now, the worst PK in the NHL, the second lowest, scoring offense in the league, have only won 4 games in the 2026 calendar year. Dreadful. And the Predators had a 2-0 lead in this game, and we'll get into all the habits that this team continuously does that allowed them to lose to the worst team in the NHL sizably, and not just lose, but lose pretty bad. This game went to a shootout, but it could have been a lot worse on the Predators' end of things, and that's hard to explain it, but we'll work backwards from this game. Jake DeBrusk had the shootout winner. It was the only goal in the shootout between the 3 shooters from Vancouver and then the 3 shooters from the Predators. That was Ryan O'Reilly, Philip Forsberg, and Steven Stamkos. O'Reilly had a nice look and he shot the puck over the net. Philip Forsberg over stick handled. He got too close and the goaltender made an easy save. Stamkos had a good shot that was easily blocked away by the goaltender. Just not amazing looks in the shootout. I think Forsberg had a little bit more room. He might have been able to get it in, but just ran out of room, and just not a great effort in the shootout here. The Predators have also lost 5 straight games now that have been decided in either an overtime or a shootout, this being their first loss of the season in a shootout. However, when it's come to periods past regulation, they have been dreadful in the last 5 outings, as they've lost all of them. They were able to survive the overtime, to their credit, what that may be. I don't know how good of a credit that is to have, considering they lose in the 5-on-5, 3-on-3 shootout constantly. And in this situation here, you're playing against one of the worst offenses in the NHL, so you would hope they would end it in the overtime, but they just survived it to get to the shootout. And it was just a lot of the Predators playing down the Canucks level here. They had an awful start to this game. They were outside shot 12-5, and went down 1-0 in this game. And it could have been clearly a lot worse. And that's insane to say against the worst team in the NHL. UC Saros absolutely stood on his head this game, and we'll get more into that and why he doesn't need to be doing that every night, but stood on his head. And unfortunately, the Predators couldn't come out with a win here. The only silver lining in this game, I would say, was Tyson Jost played really well. He had 2 goals. He now has 3 goals in 2 games. This was his first multi-point game since May of 2021, when he had 2 goals in a 5-1 win when he was with the Avalanche and a win over the Los Angeles Kings. 2 goals for him. Matthew Wood had a weird goal that he shot the puck from the left corner towards the net, and it deflected off the Canucks defender and right into the net. And that's when the Canucks that's when the Predators had a 2-0 lead in this game and just sat on it. That's what they seem to do a lot this season. And just this team seems very comfortable when they're down. And then when they're in the lead, they don't know what to do at all. They had a 2-0 lead in this game. And I know there's a whole cliche of, oh, that's the most dangerous lead in sports. But you're up 2-0 against, again, the worst team in the NHL and one of the worst offenses in the NHL. And you just give it away. They scored twice in the third, and then they tied it with a minute left in the third with an extra attacker. And you just think of this team just kind of shrivels when it comes to pressure moments a little bit more. Yes, it was a big pressure moment and a big win against the Kraken, but you had a moment tonight, and not even considering, maybe you just kind of shut all the noise out when you come into this game and say, okay, we don't know what happened in that San Jose game. For all as we know, we could win this game and we could be in a playoff position for the first time this season. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case even before the game started, because the Sharks somehow pulled off a win over the Bruins and went ahead, and they have the tiebreaker right now. So even if the Predators had won this game, they'd be tied in points with the Sharks, but the Sharks have the tiebreaker and wins right now, so they wouldn't get anywhere too much in the standings, and they would still be behind. But having the mindset that, okay, we're tied with them in points now, and we're technically in a playoff spot. If we had a few more wins and then we could get one more, and then we're soundly in that playoff spot by 2 points, should be enough motivation to get you through, especially playing a team that is the worst team in the NHL. Now they're a point behind the Sharks, and they are in a 3-way tie for that final spot before the playoffs. And you know what? The Predators don't have any tiebreakers in this situation at all. They don't. They don't have the win tiebreaker at all when it comes to the Sharks. So the Sharks have more wins. And then when you get into the Kings and the Kraken, they don't have enough wins, and they have lost. They have more losses in more games played. They've played one more game than the Kings and the Kraken have played, and they have more losses. So they don't win the tiebreaker anywhere here. They fully need to have more points in every single situation in order to get ahead, and they just cannot do that. This is the 7th time this year that they have been a point out from a wild card position right now. The 7th time. Those are 7 different times, 7 different point ranges that they have been 1 point out. Not ranges, I should say, different point combinations where they've been 1 point out from that wild card spot. This team cannot get over the threshold. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they made the wrong magician or witch upset or whatever, and they hexed them, but this team cannot cross that threshold for the life of them. And it's getting to the point now where we're in a mid-March and it doesn't seem like they're going to get it done. I mean, looking at this team, especially when you're losing to a team like Vancouver like this, and you're struggling in extra time, and you're banking on your goaltender to do everything, and you can't convert in overtime, you can't be comfortable with leads whatsoever. You're just showing you're not a playoff team. And, I can't spoil too much of that because we'll get into it in the later segment, but this is just clearly a team that the Predators should have beaten. This is clearly a game that the Predators should have won, and they just didn't show up to the occasion. They didn't play well. I don't know if they played down to the Canucks or the Canucks just played better. And just, I can't spoil too much of this because I'm trying to stay narrow focused on the game right now. But, I mean, this is a team that is so statistically bad. It was one of the rare games where the Predators had an opportunity to be the favorite for once, and I don't know how long, because we don't really see that a lot from this team where they're the favorite team to win. And this was one of those nights, and they just flubbed it. And just bad habit after bad habit. And the only silver lining you could pull out of here is that your guy that you got off of a paid tryout, or you pulled off of waivers, I don't remember how he got here. He was playing bad, and the Predators were able to pick him up. And he was your best player, and he's been one of the better players through the next 2 games. And that's something maybe you can capitalize on and see his game grow and peak a little bit more towards the end of the season. But how is that going to matter if you're not going to get into the playoffs? I don't know. It's a 4-3 loss in shootout to the Vancouver Canucks. Just disappointing loss for the Predators. This is a point lost, then point gained, in my opinion, from this team. I understand the wild card race is close, but when you have to look at some of these matchups, some look like you're gaining a point, some look like you're leaving one on the table, and this is one tonight, and you just can't be complacent. This team is just complacent with every single thing they do. They're just inconsistent and complacent. That's going to destroy you. That's going to destroy you, and we'll talk about it more later in the podcast. But coming up, we're going to talk about the defense, and just it can't fix is not the adjective to really describe this group anymore. It needs to be overhauled, and something needs to be done in the offseason of this group, because that won't work for this group. And I apologize for being so negative, but it's getting to the point of the year where, when we'll talk about in the final segment later on, but this team just they can't be indecisive anymore. They got to decide what they are. But we'll start off with talking about the defensive issues. Once again, we've talked about it so many times this year. We'll get into it a little bit more, but that'll be coming up right after the break. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits my read. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump the potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team that you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, and now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Okay, so I know I've gone on and on and on and on this year about the defense, but man, it's just bad. It just really is bad. And I've watched a lot of hockey over my lifetime, and you could usually pick out when things are wrong and see what the things are wrong with the teams you're watching. I just don't think I've ever watched a team with a defense that's just bad and is just tearing the team down completely and being the anchor of the team down. I'll tell you over and over again, the offense is not the problem. The offense is not the issue with this squad. You have guys that are consistently scoring. You have young guys that are getting involved. You're getting a little bit more depth that you've been looking for. You're having guys that you didn't expect to jump out. I don't think anybody expected Tyson Jost to have a scoring touch to him. He's getting involved. Matthew Wood's playing extremely well. I mean, Ryan O'Reilly's been consistent all year. Steven Stamkos, Philip Forsberg, you go down the list. The offense is not the problem. Your goaltending is elite. They can only do so much every night. And UC Stars was unbelievable tonight in a loss. I believe it made about 23, 24 saves tonight, and they lost. This is coming off a night where he made 40 plus in a victory against the Kraken. He's playing elite. And like I keep on saying over and over again, if he was with a better team, he would be a Vezina contender. The defense has just been abysmal this year. It has been awful. And I can't talk about this anymore because I'm going to drive myself crazy. And, maybe this will be the last time I really just hone into it and complain about it, because y'all, it's just not good. In the first period, they gave Vancouver 2 to 3 breakaways. They had 4 high-scoring chances. You're giving up 12 shots, the worst offense in the NHL. And credit the offense on the Predators and wasn't playing well, getting only 5 shots. But the defense is giving way too much. And there's kind of seeming like there's an expectation from the team that Saros is going to do everything every night. And that just can't be the case for him. This is a great goaltender, but you can't tire him out like this. You can't just expect him to do everything every game and just make up for all these gaps, because he's been doing that all year. He's going to get tired. He's going to get exhausted, and something's going to break. You can only put so much straw on the camel's back before it breaks. You only put so much on this camel's back before it breaks. And this defense is just seemingly like, okay, well, Saros has got our back every night. Let's just have him fill up the gaps for how the defense is playing. And that just doesn't work. He's going to wear out. He's going to get tired. And, he's a beast, but I mean, man, you got to give the guys some sort of support, and you got to give Ananen some support as well, especially as a goaltender who you expect to take into Saros' role eventually one day. And as a young guy, you can't expect him to do everything either. You need to give some sort of support to your goaltenders, and that's just not happening. I mean, to add to more embarrassment to this loss, this is just the 5th game that Vancouver has scored 4 or more goals since the start of 2026. And again, this was only their 4th win. And watching this game, this defense has no awareness. They just have bad management all around. The management just outside. Okay, excluding Roman Josi. That's when I say all of this, he's excluded from all of this. He's in a category of his own. He is the only person doing everything right this season and is done more. Not just played good defense, but is finding ways to score the puck and get involved in scoring and be just a great piece to this team. He is unbelievable. He has been clutch for the defense. He's been the only good thing on the defense this year, outside of Nick Blankenburg, but that's gone. And that's a whole different conversation. That if you want to look for that, that's a different episode. The second goal really encapsulated just how lost they looked out there. Svechkov, while the puck went in the air, Svechkov swatted it into a Canucks defender, and then it gets past 2 Predators players who are standing right in front of the net, and Nick Blankenburg, not Nick Blankenburg, Nick Perbix is standing off to the right of the net. I don't know doing what, picking daisies in the outfield or just standing there, and Marco Rossi is right there to get a rebound and punch it right in, and Nick Perbix falls over. Just no awareness of what's going on. It's a bad goal, and it's Perbix just standing there, and it's just encapsulated what this group is of just they're slow. It doesn't seem like they know what's really going on. They've had good moments here and there, but this group is just the losing factor most nights. And tonight, especially in that first period, this group was the losing factor. Yes, you can argue that the offense, again, didn't get enough shots on, but when you're allowing the worst team in the NHL to get to the net that much and put the puck on that much, what are you doing? What are you doing? And just to add more fuel to the fire, the whole thing that Barry Trotz said in the offseason was this defense was fixed. The defense was fixed. And you know what? The defense is going to step up because we chose not to fix the center depth. We chose to fix the defense. And the defenders are going to have to step up to fix up that gap. And this group was just not fixed. This is just a failure on Trotz's end with this group and saying it was fixed. The new GM needs to be this needs to be the new GM's first task completely of just overhauling the defense, in my opinion, except for Roman Josi. I would argue everybody's on the table in that group except for Roman Josi. Because it's that bad. It's really that bad. You can't, and you know what? It's a bad situation too with the contracts. Because you can't get rid of Brady Shea's contract. No team in this league is that lost to take on that contract for how long it is and how much money it is. There's no reason to get rid of for anyone to pick up that contract as much as the Predators would like to get rid of it. I'm trying to find my words right now. Haig and Perbix, those were the big acquisitions that were supposed to come out and fix everything. You can ask me, I don't think they've done it much. I really don't think they've done much here. I think Nick Haig's slow, and I don't really think his game has added a ton of elements. He's scored there and there, here and there. He's looked good, but he has not leveled up his game since moving from Vegas. And I can tell you that as somebody who watched him in Vegas the year prior to this season. And then Nick Perbix has just kind of he's looked good at times, but most times he's looked invisible. Adam Wilsby has not been bad. I think this is a good bottom pairing defender. Why is Justin Barron still on this team? Oh my God. I can't give you an answer for that. I do not understand why Barry Trotz is continuously. I know why he's keeping him on this team, because he's trying to show that this trade panned out and it's going to work out. And just, oh my God, send the guy to Milwaukee, for God's sake. Call up anybody from down there and bring him up, because this guy has just been nothing to this team this year. I know that's really harsh, but he's just not contributed anything to this team this year. And it doesn't make sense why he's still up here. We're in March and he has not played a game down in Milwaukee. He's been scratched a few times, but this cannot be your extra guy that you're running each night. It's like, try something else out. And Ryan Ufko's up here, but he's filling up a gap that Nick Blankenburg left. Find something else. You should have traded this off and see if you could got someone active in the league right now instead of ridiculous draft picks. Man, this defense is just bad, and it's going to sink this team if they want to make the playoffs. It's going to be the defense is going to sink this team. Again, everything I say right now is excluding Roman Josi. Everything else happening in this group, like, this defense truly needs to step it up completely. This is the reason why this is the missing piece. This is why they are one step off. This is why they are one anything off of getting into the playoffs. This defense just can't keep up. They're just, again, it's the whole thing of just height and size versus speed and skill. And it's showing out here. I think if this team had like two more good defenders, solid defenders that could skate and, get back a little bit more, I think this team would be in the playoffs. That's a bold thing of me to say, but that's true. Because I feel this defense is just not there. It's not there. And like I said, I'll say it again, it's going to sink the Predators. If this defense cannot clean up their game in this final month of play, the Predators aren't getting into the playoffs. Because it's just proving most nights and night in and night out that this is the factor in all of it. That the defense just, they're nowhere. They're letting everything go through. They're letting everybody camp out in the slot and do whatever they want. It's just that every night. And I can't waste any more time getting stressed and animated and yelly about this group because it's getting tiring. Like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result. That's what I feel like I'm going now with this defense of just, they've played a handful, maybe less of good games this year, like really solid games. Like, wow, the defense was really good. But I mean, it needs to be overhauled. This needs to be fixed in the offseason completely. This new GM, the new GM will really show what they're going to do with this organization if they can just really break this defense down and build it into something different. With Roman Josi, of course, being a key part of it because this is your only good defender, and your other one you decided to trade for pebbles. A 5th round in 2020. I can't get into that. I really can't get into that. But hey, let's talk about the Everydayer Club. Thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Predators with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. If you guys are interested, go to lockedonpredators.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. When we come back, we're going to get into the chaos even more and just discuss, hey, we're into March. What is this team? This team is seemingly not settled on a sound positive identity. We talk about the negative identity all day, but we're going to try to define the squad once again. I know we've done this so many times, but we're going to put it into the playoff aspect and crunch time in a month left to play. What does this team want to be? What is this team right now? And just what is it in general? That is going to be coming up. That fun conversation is going to be coming up right after the break. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed, Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. So what in the world is this team? What does this team want to be? I'll tell you what, the negative side of it is this is a team that is inconsistent or consistent in all the wrong ways. This is a team that does not know how to start games. It's a team that doesn't know how to play with a lead. and a team that seems more comfortable with losing games than being in a position of winning games. I'm not talking about the final result. I'm talking about in the moment here. We've seen this team play their best hockey when they've been down or they've been forced into adversity. That Bruins game is one of the best games I've seen the Predators play this year, and it's because they were probably playing mad because they just had 4 of their players, 2 of them really big culture guys, sent off to contenders too. In my opinion, this is my opinion. This doesn't look like a playoff team, and they don't look like they want to get into the playoffs. That just with losing to Vancouver, the Seattle team, yep, that Seattle win. Excuse me. That was a big win. Don't doubt that. I'm not doubting that at all. But I mean, this was a layup. Like, I know, and you shouldn't underestimate teams every game you go into, but God, this was a layup. And this was a win that they needed to just keep propelling themselves. And when does it come to a point where you just get so exhausted of coming up to this threshold every time and not getting past it, where you start losing hope because you're coming up to the end of the season here and the needle will go down, it'll go back up, but it won't go past a certain point. It looks like you can fill your gas tank up halfway, but you can't get it full. You can't, as much as you try, you can't get it to be full. That's what it looks like with this group. And it's a lot of, doesn't look like they can play with leads. They play better when they're down, and that's not really a great attitude. I guess it's good that you have a fighting attitude and a fighting sense there, but you want to be winning games. The defense, as I just mentioned for 10 minutes previously, just can't meet up to the standards that the offense and the goaltending has set. That's a problem here. They're losing games that they should be winning. They're just all over the board right now. And I think a big part of this too is that, and we talked about it a little bit with the Barry Trotz attitude he's had with this. And frankly, if you ask me, I think it's a good thing that he's leaving at the end of the year. The Predators cannot be a lottery favorite and a playoff team. What's going to happen is that they continue doing this thing of, we want to be able to get a good spot in the draft and still make the playoffs. You know what's going to happen? Nothing. You're going to end up right in the middle of everything. You're going to miss the playoffs and you're going to be right outside the top 10. And I saw the whole thing of the Predators have some sort of chance to get the number 1 overall pick because the Islanders did it. That was something that does not happen ever. You have the team with the 10th best odds got the number 1 overall pick. I don't know if that's happened before. It's been very rare, and I guess a little lottery or anything can happen, but just don't expect that to be a consistent pattern all throughout the entire year. That was very, very, very lucky. That's why it's called lottery. But they had the lowest chances to do it too. This team needs to just decide what they want to do. And I think in the interior, you need, with the guys in the locker room, you need to figure out what they want to do. What do we need to do to lock in and really be a playoff team and run for a playoff spot here? Or you know what? Maybe we need to really be exercising these younger guys and start building for the future here. Still want to win games, but we want to prioritize building up these younger guys a little bit more. And hey, if we miss the playoffs, it's bad in the moment, but this is going to get us some really good draft picks. This is going to get us good draft placement to a point where we see our young guys playing well now. Maybe we can get 1 or 2 good pieces, and maybe one that comes off of this year's draft. Maybe some of the guys that we've drafted in the past are ready to go. Get them into the system, and this Predators team could compete for a top 3 spot next year. But you got to decide on what the mindset is in general, because you can't keep going down the middle of the road when there's no road there. You're coming to a fork in the road. You can't just drive down the middle of it. What's the Robert Frost poem? I came to some sort of crossroads and I took the one less traveled. It doesn't matter if you're taking the one that's less traveled or not traveled. Just pick a road. That's what it's getting to here. Just make a decision for what this team wants to be. Because this mid-leveling is not going to work for anyone or anything. You're just going to end up being average, and that doesn't get you anything at the end of the day. Average is just, it's really just settling on stuff, and you don't have room to really improve, but you don't really have room of getting better because you're just right in the middle of stuff, and it's just very mid. That's what it is. Average, mid, you're in the middle of everything. There's just you need to figure out where you're going with this, because it seems like similar to the management of this team. They're trying to do everything, and you need to commit. There's still time for a playoff push, and there's still time for a massive tank. I don't think they're going to get as bad as Vancouver if they choose to massively tank without getting in trouble, of course. But there's still time to say, maybe we need to let up off the gas, off the playoff race, and maybe focus on our youth and our younger players a little bit more. And, if we take losses, we take losses. But our goal is not to make the playoffs right now. It's to develop the future. There's still time to do that completely. But you just can't keep doing this weird in the middle thing. You need to decide what this is going to be. And I will say, in comparison to the teams in front of them, San Jose, LA, and Seattle all look like playoff teams and teams that they want to get in and compete. They're hungry. They have things going for them. And it just, with the Predators, I don't know if it feels like they're on the up or the down. It feels, again, they're just stagnant. It feels like they're in the middle. They're not improving, but they're not regressing. They're in the middle of everything. And I'll leave you with that. You just don't gain anything from being in the middle. You're on the mid ground. It's flat. There's no way to go up. There's no way to fall down. You're just standing there, and you don't lose anything, but you don't gain anything. So, I mean, if that's the spot the Predators are want to be in, they are in that right now. But with that, I apologize for more negative episode. Just really aggravating with this team just continuously falling over themselves. Did get a point out of this win. Still puts them very much in the race here, but you can tell I'm getting frustrated and I'm getting tired. I'm guessing y'all are also getting very tired as well. I know it's better than last season, but man, to come up to the threshold 7 times and not cross it. Remember that stat, because if this team doesn't get into the playoffs, they will be talking about that at the end of the year, of how many times this team got close to it and couldn't get over it. But I could be all wrong about all this. Maybe this team will make a push to get into the playoffs and they will finally get in. Maybe this week. They play the Oilers on Sunday. I don't think they're winning that game, but we'll see. They're playing in Edmonton. That's a 7 p.m. Central Standard start on Sunday, so later for Sunday, but earlier compared to past games. But yeah, we'll see what happens on Sunday. But that's all I got for y'all. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. At Jack J. Williams, you can find all my stuff on Twitter/X. Hockey News Nashville Predators is where you can read all my writing. I am a writer first, so please check that out. And then if you guys are just interested on Locked On Predators, LO_Predators on Twitter/X, Facebook, and Instagram, we're just Locked On Predators. Hey, Everyday Club, $5 a month, $50 a year. Members only Discord access, and you get ad-free audio as well. But again, that's all I got. Thank you guys for joining me. Very thankful for y'all. Very grateful for y'all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to my rambles that may sound insane. I hope I'm relating to you guys as much as possible. That's what I want to do. Again, would love to hear your opinions and want to hear your takes on everything as well. Maybe it doesn't even need to be a question in the mailbag. Maybe just send me your comments on how you feel. Maybe we're going to modify that. Would love to just hear your general comments on how you guys feel and everything, and start some conversational pieces, because I love hearing and talking from y'all. That's what makes this podcast the best, and I'm able to connect with y'all. But with that, I will see y'all on another episode of the Locked On Predators podcast.